Today we're going to be interviewing Stephen Key.
Yeah, so Stephen Key is a very exciting guy that I was able to get on. He authored a book called One Simple Idea, and he's also a co-founder of the company called inventor. And so let's say, Myra, you had a very interesting idea you wanted to sell to people, right? A new toy or a new invention, right? You could either A, you could make it and sell it, or B, you could, oh, very good. Or B, you could sell it to your idea to a company, and that company could make the object or the product, and then they could give you a little bit of the money every time they sell one of those items, right? So that's called licensing. And so that's what Stephen Key's InventRight company does, is they help provide coaching to people who want to or choose to license their ideas to other companies. So he's had a lot of success doing this, and he truly, definitely, and you'll see it in this interview, he definitely has a passion for helping other people achieve their dreams and their goals of licensing out their ideas to companies. He wants them to be successful, and that's what he does in his company, and that's really comes across in his book as well. So it's a wonderful interview. He's a great guy, and I hope you guys all enjoy. So thank you.
Interviews with the best in their fields, teaching you how to excel in careers that don't require traditional college. You're listening to the College Alternative Podcast. Insider tips and advice straight from the experts. And now, here is your host, James Christian.
Well, today I'm really excited to have on the show Stephen Key. And Stephen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, James. Thank you very much.
Nice. And so you've got a long list of things that you've accomplished in life. You're an entrepreneur, you're a product developer / inventor, depending on what title you want to go with there. You're the founder of InventRight. And today we're going to be talking about product licensing and kind of the pros and cons of it. And for all of you guys that are entrepreneurs out there that want to start up businesses, maybe another option could be product licensing on top of that. So how about you just introduce yourself and kind of what your background is?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'm just, I was in college and I was taking I was a business major, and I realized that I just didn't like it. And everybody was enjoying, the classes, but I was hating it, James. So I took an art class by chance. And I found that I really love working with my hands. And I went home and I told my dad I want to be an artist. And he kind of looked at me kind of funny and said, "Well, you must love to paint." And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, you must love to draw." And I said, "Well, no." And he said, "Well, give it a shot." And that was one of the first lessons that I've learned, that sometimes you have to trust your gut and find that thing that doesn't feel like work, right? So I guess my journey has been finding those things that bring me great joy. And I learned, my father told me, if you find that thing, you'll never work a day in your life. So that was the lesson he taught me. And he was absolutely right. So I guess I'm a creative guy. I come up with ideas and then I show those ideas to companies. And I make small improvements on existing ideas. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I just make small improvements. And if those companies like those small improvements, they license or rent those ideas from me, and then they pay a royalty on every one they sell. So in essence, all those companies are working for me. So I like it because business was not something I was comfortable with or wanted to be even involved in.
Mm-hmm. And so you say that you didn't like the business environment or the business classes that you had in college. Do you feel like you struggled through those classes at all, or just not really, you didn't really enjoy them?
School was difficult. School was always hard for me. So maybe it could have been any topic. Maybe it would have been hard for me. All right. So, but business, I could just tell that people were enjoying it. And I didn't have that fascination with it. Looking back, I probably would now, but not at 18 or 19, no. And what's really amazing, I have the opportunity now to go back and speak at business schools to talk about a different way of doing business. So it's funny how it's come full circle for me.
Do you think these schools have kind of resolved some of their issues that you used to have? Do you think they've kind of addressed any of that, or no? Or is it just business as usual?
I think they look at me as someone that has found a different way of doing it. Mm-hmm. And they don't teach licensing. So when they hear that I have this product, that's, to me, it's very timely. There's a lot of us out there that really don't want to do the day-to-day business aspects of running a company. Maybe they don't have the time, maybe they don't have the experience, or they don't have the money. But they still want to be creative. They still have a product idea they want to bring to market. So with licensing, you're really finding that perfect partner that has manufacturing, fulfillment. They've got relationships. They really have everything for you. And today, I think more and more companies realize it's speed to market now. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it's very competitive, and there's all you hear about all these stories of copycats and things like that. So it's really speed. And licensing is the ultimate outsourcing of all those things you don't really want to do, and finding a company that can bring it to market so fast that I don't worry about copycats.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good point is a lot of people get wrapped up in some of these entrepreneur shows that are out there, and they kind of get it romanticized. And you're right. It's one thing to, be all excited and get your first sale, but it's another thing when you're 6 months down the road and suddenly you're like, oh, I need to do my accounting again, and I need to figure out marketing.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I did have the opportunity to start a company a few years back, and it was we made different shaped guitar picks. Why, I don't know. I just kind of jumped in there, and I thought, how hard could it possibly be? And we ended up selling tens of millions of these, and we were a Walmart vendor, so we sold to Walmart, 7-Eleven, and I really enjoyed it. I have to admit, I did enjoy it. Parts of it I did not enjoy. I enjoyed the relationship with customers. I loved that very much. Looking at being clever with the marketing, the packaging, the design work. See, that's that whole creativity thing I really liked.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What I didn't like was that once we got that first order from Walmart, it was about $500,000 order. So how do you float that type of money? I remember going to the bank and said, I've got this big order from Walmart, can I get a loan? They were like, no, that's not the way it works. So you realize that you have to wear a lot of different hats. You have to enjoy that. Number two, you have to realize that you're always going to be looking over your shoulder. Competition, if you like that, that's fine. And you're always going to be in debt. Because in order to grow, you're going to need to borrow money, and it's that float game. So it's very stressful. It was for me. Mm-hmm. So I like companies to do all that work for me. So I'm back. I sold that to my partner and got back to licensing. Yeah.
So how long did it take you before you found a product or a business idea that actually really worked? Did you have failures before you actually started it on your first product license, successful product license?
No, I just thought if I showed a company an idea that if they liked it, they would pay me. So I was actually, well, first of all, the first one I licensed is kind of a crazy story. I love playing basketball. And when I was coming up with ideas in my office, I have this little Nerf basketball game. And And of course, I would be shooting around, goofing around. And I thought, this little basketball game, little square backboard was so boring that how could I make it fun? And I really love Michael Jordan. So I took a poster of Michael Jordan, I cut him out, and I put him on the backboard. And I loved it because it was like me going up against Michael, and I was imagining all this. And so I sent that. I sent that off to a company called Ohio Art. They do the Etch-a-Sketch, and they came back to me 3 days later, and they gave me a licensing contract. Now the prototype was really, really ugly. It was. I took a picture of it. The name of it, I called it Hoop Hoop Hooray. That's how bad the name was. But they loved it. It sold for 10 years, and that was really the first success I had with licensing. And James, I thought this was going to be so easy. All right, I thought, well, wow, this is anybody up there. Well, it wasn't that easy because I had started submitting other ideas to the Ohio Art, and they didn't take any other ones from me. So I thought, maybe I got lucky, but I was intrigued. I was very much intrigued. But it allowed me to be creative, and they did all the work. And for 10 years, it sold. I collected royalties for 10 years, and that was amazing. And it cost about $10 to make the prototype. And that was about it. So I was like, okay. Yeah.
Nice. And so you got your first product idea was a win. And then you kind of moved on to some other product ideas that didn't pan out so well for you?
Yes, I could basically wallpaper my office with people saying, no, we don't like it. And I was a little surprised, but I kept at it, right? I just thought, okay, I'll just keep at it. And sure enough, I would get another one. And I started to work with this one company called Applause. And this is what I tell everybody. Once you find a company that realizes that you're going to keep on submitting ideas to them, it's free. Why not? You're like this great asset. They don't have to pay for any of it. Mm-hmm. So they started to tell me what they were looking for. That made it much easier. So then I started licensing a lot of ideas. So they would say, hey, Steve, we need something for Valentine's. And we want it to be, under $2. We want it to be on the counter. We want those type of ideas. So I remember I had made a list of all these ideas. In fact, what was so great, I didn't have to make a prototype. I would just send over a one-line description of the idea. Really? Yeah, and I remember the first one they took, the description was it was a plastic arrow with a suction cup, and it had a little message, I'm stuck on you. And I called them sweet darts. So it was just one little paragraph, and they go, we love it. I'm like, really? And so next thing you know, they did all the rest of the work. Nice. To see that at all the Walmarts, to walk in for Valentine's and see that on every counter, I was hooked again. I was like, okay, I can do this. So it was,
So you had a high point, and then it kind of went, and then you kept on having enough high points to keep moving you along there and keep encouraging you that this could be something. Oh yeah, no,
I was hooked. When the Michael Jordan wall ball came out, and there was a commercial on TV, and I'd walk in. Hey, trust me, I was hooked. Even if I got rejected, I'm doing it again. I'm going to have to repeat this again. So I just found ways of speeding up the submission process, because I realized it must be a numbers game, right? Mm-hmm. So if I submit 50 ideas, how many will they take? So I realized, and that's like life too, right? You knock on a lot of doors, few are going to open, right? And so I used to do door-to-door sales when I was in college. So I was really used to getting rejected.
Oh, wow. That's hardcore, man.
Well, I liked it because I looked at it differently. I looked at it that I was just meeting people. And it was not about selling. It was just meeting people. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't look at it as trying to sell something. I looked at it as just trying to meet somebody. So every door I knocked on, I was trying to meet someone new as a friend. I didn't look at it the other way. So I have a tendency to look at obstacles and try to find the opportunities because I think they're all there. We just don't look at them that way. Yeah.
No, I think that's a big deal is you've been able to mentally shift into an obstacle being a problem to overcome as opposed to an obstacle. I'm going to bang my head against it, try a different route again. So did you learn that, or did you just have it inherently in you?
No, I think I learned that as a very young child because school was so difficult. I had to find another way. And looking back, that disability of me not being very good at school allowed me to see things a little differently. So it took me years to figure that. That was a great skill to look at another way to communicate.
Yeah, that's a very mature way of thinking.
Well, it took me. Wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. I figured that out when I was 50, so it took me a long. It was something that I used to hide. Right, I used to hide it from people. I was ashamed for years and years and years. So I would find a way to work around those obstacles so people didn't know. And I think that allowed me to see things differently and not just give up, Yeah.
It's a big, important skill, not giving up. So how can people start learning how to identify problems and coming up with practical solutions to that? Because that's ultimately what you're trying to do, is you're trying to solve problems.
Well, traditionally, most creative inventors, product developers, that's what they do. I don't do that very well. Okay, so looking back, my creativity was just trying to put a smile on someone's face, nothing more. I've had a couple products that did solve problems, and I was really kind of surprised I was able to do that. I have a couple of those. In fact, my biggest idea was one of those products that solved a problem. I think we're all experts at this. I think we're all consumers. I think daily we see things that frustrate us. I also think that we all have that creative abilities. Is that sometimes sometime we've lost it, and usually you lose that when you're young as a child. So I think you have to realize you still have it. You just it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. And so I play games to come up with ideas. And those games allow me to look at something a little differently. Maybe like the Michael Jordan wall ball, I played a game. Backboards were square. Well, why not change the shape? Or guitar picks were made out of plastic. Why not change the material? We changed them into lenticular lens. So when you moved it back and forth, it gave you 13 frames of a movie. So I'm always looking at changing it up a little bit and playing games of how to change it up, change the material, turn it upside down. So those are games of finding alternatives. So I think anybody can do it. I think they just have to look at it that way and find something a little bit new. That's why making small improvements on existing ideas really worked for me, because two things happen. Number one, there's a market for it. If it's already out there, you're just making a little bit better. All right, so no risk there. Number two, if you make a small improvement on an existing idea, there's a very good chance that it can be manufactured. That's a good thing too. So I'm always increasing my chances of success that way, right? Because I'm a no-risk entrepreneur. I can already tell I don't like the risk. I don't gamble. I live 12 miles away from casinos. I've never put a nickel in. I'm all about increasing your chances of success because I really wanted to do this.
Yeah. And I think that's huge too. What you touched on a little bit earlier is creative thinking is essentially a muscle. I once heard it where for adults it's kind of hard to do that. Kids, it's a lot easier, but I think maybe school kind of beats that out of them a little bit, that divergent thinking of this is a paperclip. What could we all do with this? And normally people without divergent thinking can only think of maybe 20 uses, whereas a great and excellent person, adult or kid, can come up with maybe 200.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what's great? There's a gentleman that is a teacher at the design school at Stanford, and Mr. Kelly, and he's going back. His goal in life now is to give people creative confidence.
Yeah, that's important. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because he realizes, and he tells a story about, he was in class with a friend of his, and they were all making stuff. You know, when you're second grade, you're making things, and right away,
the sky's the limit.
Yeah, right away, there's someone that's really good at it. Now he's the artist; the rest of us are terrible at it. That's what happens, and so we lose that confidence in ourselves. And I think that's really amazing. I think we can get it back, and I think once you realize that you can be creative in everything you do. That's what I really like about it, from ideas to services to problem solving to everything in your life. Once you look at things a little bit differently, there's no obstacles. So I'm really happy to be in that space and think of, have those fun things, pop up in my head every once in a while too.
Nice. It just takes practice. Yeah, just takes practice and exercise, just like anything else.
You have to think about it. I mean, I think we have a tendency. A lot of people don't have the discipline. See, I'm pretty scattered, so I have to put things on a calendar each day, and it helps me cross it off. I'm one of those guys. I have to cross it off every day. So if I don't do that, I'm not going to get it done. So if you take anything you want to do, if you just put it on the calendar and do a little bit at a time, and don't look at the end results, just keep on, have faith, just keep on doing it. You'll get to where you need to go. Yeah, a little bit of discipline.
So how do you know when an idea is worthwhile to succeed? Or do you think that every single idea that you submit is going to be the one that's going to succeed?
I hope. I love them all, but some are going to be more profitable than others. Some of the ones that are just terrible, I like them the most, because they kind of make me smile and think, how did I come up with that crazy idea? All right. I think I don't think you create to have those winners. I don't think that's the right goal. I think you create to create, and there's going to be winners in there. Okay, so
yeah,
all right, yeah, because if you just created to find that winner, I think you're going to be very frustrated, and I think that takes the fun out of it too a little bit, right? So I'm so impatient, James, that when I come up with an idea, I want to know that within an hour what someone thinks. Now that's a little crazy, and I found out a system to do that. I can put together a sell sheet. It's just a one page. Here's my idea. Here's the benefit. And I can call a company really quickly and say, hey, I could either pitch it on the phone. I could send them a sell sheet through an email. Hey, what do you think about this? So I want to know as fast as I can. And it amazes me that some people build these businesses. They spend money on prototypes, patents, they do all this work, business plan, and then a year later they show it to somebody and maybe it goes nowhere. I don't want to know now.
Well, you're doing it cheaper, and you're also cutting down that cycle, right? You're getting feedback, you're improving, as opposed to that year-long process.
Yeah,
Time
that's
is money.
That's that testing as fast as I can. And my father told me something really interesting. I didn't understand it at the time, but it hit me hard. I was on the production line of Teddy Ruxpin, Talking Teddy Bear, back in the late 80s. That was my job. I was manager of design at World's Wonder. And my father had told me, in order to create great wealth, now maybe that's not a goal for everybody, but explaining it to me, he said, look, you have to find something that doesn't require your hands, and something that doesn't require your presence. I thought that, when I was a young man, I didn't quite understand that. But when I was on that production line, watching all those Teddy Ruxpins going by, and Teddy became this big, big hit, and that creator wasn't there. I was there. And he was making all the royalties. That's when it dawned on me, okay, how do I find that multiplying effect? And that's what licensing is. It's having companies do the work, letting me do what I really love, and coming up with a lot of ideas and submitting a lot of ideas to companies, and hopefully 3 or 4 of them are taking them, and I'm not there, I'm not making it, and I can live anywhere.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a really fascinating way of thinking about business. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yes, and it's a lot easier to scale that way too, right? So if you're on the assembly line, you can't really scale your wealth at all.
No, and there's other ways. This multiplying effect is really interesting, because then you begin to realize, does it really have to be my idea? Then you realize, how do I tap into a lot of ideas? And then how do I get to a lot of companies? And if you realize that has a multiplying effect of doing a lot in a very short period of time, which is fascinating to me. It's kind of a interesting concept, and that's that speed again that I really like. Right, I'm impatient. I want to know, hey, is this a good idea? I guess I'm just really impatient. I really love the business from that standpoint. I was told that business is one of the greatest arts. And I don't know who said that. I think someone said that. And I really think it's true, because it's like beautiful music or great painting. It takes all these things to line up right for it to work. So that to me is a really big challenge. It's a fascinating challenge.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever lobby any of these ideas to friends and family, or do you just go straight? Do you ever listen to friends and family on ideas, or do you go straight to companies?
Well, we all do, right? I mean, but I remember when I came out with the basketball with the Hoop Hoop Hooray, they changed the name to Michael Jordan Wall Ball, which is a really great name.
Did you argue against that? No, I
did not. I love that. I shared it with my wife, and I met my wife at Worlds of Wonder, and she went on to be vice president of marketing for Gallo Winery. And so she really knew her stuff. I mean, and so I was pitching the Michael Jordan or Hoop Hoop Hooray to my wife, and she said, that's the worst idea I've ever seen. You'll never license that in a million years. Forget about it. Sure enough, it worked. So I learned something really, really important. I said, look, it's okay to ask friends, family, but realize they're not an expert, right? And the only opinion that matters is the company you're showing it to. So don't stop. If your friend says, hey, that's a dumb idea, don't stop. If your gut tells you you've got something, because the process is so simple, you can go on the LinkedIn, I can get someone's name in marketing or sales on a certain company. I can send them a note. I can call them on the phone. I can send them a sell sheet, which is that 1-page advertisement for your product idea. They can look at it and tell me no, yes or no so fast. Why would you listen to anybody else? Why not get it to that company as fast as you can and let them tell you if they want it or not? So that's what I've learned. Everybody's fearful a little bit about protection, and I'm not fearful at all about it. I just don't think companies steal ideas. I think you hear about it, maybe they work around it, or maybe they were doing something similar in the back room. But because of the internet, because of just bad relationships with people, it's not good business practice.
No.
No, it's not. And you can always file a provisional patent application for about $65 and put patent pending on your idea for a year to shop it around to all those companies. So basically, you can play the biggest game in the world, and you can live anywhere in the world and play that game. You just have to realize, what is that game? And that's what I've been trying to help people with by writing articles and YouTube videos and books of how to play that creative game. So you don't have to quit your day job, right?
Or you can if you want.
Well, I would recommend that a little later. See,
yes.
But yeah, so there's no risk to it.
And I have checked out your videos on YouTube and your book and everything, and it really does have a great amount of wealth to it, you can really easily get started watching some of the content you guys put out. So
I give it all away, James.
yeah,
And
it's not that difficult, really.
no, you know what's really the funnest thing? I wrote this book, One Simple Idea, and I teach a course, but I put all the stuff that we teach a course into the book for $13. And everybody thought, what are you doing that for? I said, no, people, this is too good information. Everybody's got to have it. So when someone reads the book and then licenses an idea, we all win. Mm-hmm. We're all successful. So I get that all the time now, and I'm really glad we put that information out, because you can do it. You can do it at any age. You can live anywhere in the world. You can do it. I've seen, people from 12 years old to 82 doing it. So anybody can.
So what makes a product great for licensing versus producing it on your own?
Okay, great. That's a good question. To me, there's a formula. Number one, not everything can be licensed. Okay. You need to have a point of difference, not a big point of difference, but some point of difference. That small improvement on existing idea. I believe also a large market. Okay. Mm-hmm. Something that can be manufactured, right? And that's why I like that small improvement. And I call those simple ideas. That's why I call it one simple idea. Those are simple ideas that people, and it's easy to demonstrate, right? It's here it is, very simple. You understand it. Things that are complicated, that take education, those are going to be difficult. That's going to take time and money, mm-hmm. right? And you might have to start a business. If you got something so brand new, you might have to start a business. So I think you can do both if you want to, right? I never thought we would sell so many guitar picks. Craziest thing. But I love the customer, and we made things that were really fun, and they weren't guitar picks. The gentleman that was producing our guitar picks, he was the largest producer of guitar picks in the world. He didn't get it, because ours were in different shapes of skulls and Frankenstein and all this kind of weird stuff. He didn't get it. But what he didn't understand was and people collected hours. You could still play, but they collected hours. What he didn't realize, there's more non-musicians than musicians. So we sold more than he did.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's all how you look at it, right? Yeah. He kept on looking at it as being that guitar pick for professionals, and I wanted a guitar pick for everyone. So mm-hmm. yeah. So I don't know if there is a difference. I think you just have to find out what you want to do. Also, too, I tell everybody, if you want to start a business, fantastic. Do the math. That little guitar pick that really cost about 3 cents to make. When we got into some of the bigger stores, you've got to at least have $250,000 of float money. Have to. People just don't know. People think I'm just going to start in my garage. I'm going to order some, put it in my garage, put them on Amazon. That's what people are thinking, right? I'm just going to start it slow. Doesn't really work that way. I wish it did. It can, but you really have to look at the numbers and be dedicated, and realize you're going to spend 80 hours a week, realize you're going to be in debt, realize you're going to work your tail end off, but you really love it and you can succeed. But the rate of failure is very, very high. Don't kid yourself. That's why licensing, instead of working on one idea, can work on 20 ideas. Mm-hmm. That's that multiplying effect again. See, that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the big rage now too, is you see a lot of YouTube videos about guys, oh, this is how you source stuff from China, and this is how you put it on Amazon, and this is how you do Dropbox shipping and everything like that. And it's interesting to see those type of trends that are kind of current, what's not, and that's a big one.
Well, everybody, here's another thing too. Crowdfunding is wonderful, but most successful crowdfunding campaigns fail.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
people end up not shipping. They think it's a money problem, but it's really a knowledge problem, along with a little bit of money problem. So it's just you have to find out what your skill set is. If you're going to jump into business for the first time and you don't have any experience, find a partner that does. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was
probably why you have those money problems is because of the lack of knowledge. You don't exactly know how to budget properly to float that money in.
I would have never gone into the guitar pick business if the person that kind of got me started in it was in the music industry for 20 years. So he knew the music industry. He knew the buyers. He had a couple stores. Yeah. I would never have done it without that person. He knew the ins and outs, so the risk was less. And the risk was less, too, because it was a 3-cent item, less risk. So I said, how hard can it be? That's what I was telling myself. Hey, it's hard. I don't care what it is. It's going to be hard. But if you really love it, and I did, I remember I wanted these big bands to endorse our products, and they weren't going to endorse us. They didn't know us. And, of course, they wanted all this money to endorse us. So I thought, okay, there's an obstacle. Well, what do we do? So I said, why don't we endorse garage bands?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
There's a lot of those guys.
Yes.
So we did, and we ended up having thousands and thousands of garage bands that we endorsed, and we sold them our picks at cost, and our name was always on the back, our website. So imagine having thousands of these bands throwing our products out to the crowd, and it was taking an obstacle and really turning it into a huge marketing success for us.
Would you have ever done, looking back on it, would you have ever done the guitar picks as a licensing deal versus actually starting a business if you would have done it over again? Or
I don't think we could have.
Okay.
I think no one would have taken us serious. I didn't realize our marketing was very good because the packaging, we changed the packaging up to, packaging was in tackle boxes, fishing tackle boxes, and we put them in these nice clam shells, and we became a Disney licensee, a Taylor Swift licensee. We were all about the lifestyle, creating a lifestyle. And I did some crazy things. I remember walking down to a 7-Eleven and asking the manager if I could put my little display on the counter, and he said, "Guitar picks? What do you think? Musicians come in here?" I said, "No, I think just could you please do it? And you can take all the money. I just want to know how many we sell." He goes, "Okay." So he put it on there. I came back, put it on a Friday, came back on a Monday. I walked in there and the display was gone. So I was thinking, oh, geez, they probably kicked it to the curb or something. He goes, "No, Steve, we sold out." That's when you know you really have a hit, right? And we had a hit because we created demand. And that's the other thing that most people don't realize. Through crowdfunding or starting your own project that's on Amazon, you have to create demand. And we did that through our garage bands. We did that through MySpace at the time. We created this huge demand that people just knew who we were really fast. And that takes a lot of work. Most people don't have a clue.
Yeah, well, that's that knowledge that you were referring back to before, is that prior experience that really definitely helps you. So why isn't it, Shark Tank is a big thing, and it's gotten entrepreneurs all hot and bothered, and it's rah, rah, rah. Yep, exactly. And the Amazon thing that I was talking about before. Why isn't it more commonplace to really hear sing than, all these other things? It's so much easier and brought to success and everything.
Well, what's really great about it? I've been trying to educate people on licensing for 16 years. And for the first 13, no one knew who we were.
Yeah, exactly. So why is that?
Well, they're just not teaching it. And so we never used the word licensing because people were like, they didn't get it. Now you say licensing, they're talking about it on Shark Tank. You hear them talking about it. Mm-hmm. The toy industry, they always license ideas from toy inventors. So that's pretty common. But it's talked about more and more now. So we always mention licensing now because people kind of know what that is. They've heard about it. Is it still new? Yes. I'll be out speaking to a lot of colleges now about it. That's why I'm saying. That's why this is so weird. To think that I'm coming full circle and talking about licensing is really kind of funny to me. but I still have a lot of work to do, James. You know,
Yeah,
and but we're getting the word out. More and more people. I write for a couple online magazines, and I get to write about it weekly. The YouTube videos, we talk about it all the time. So I think we're getting there. We're slowly getting there, and I like to be kind of. Someone called me the godfather of licensing the other day. I had a big laugh. Probably lose all my hair by the time everybody knows about it. But I really like it. I like to see. I think it's an amazing experience when someone licenses an idea and they see it on the store shelf. And that's that same wonderment that I had, and that's why I like it. I don't care who does it. If someone's read a book or an article, watched a YouTube video, and they license, and they come back and they tell me, it feels like I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to live through all their successes. I love it. Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned the toy industry; they do it all the time. As far as licensing is concerned, are there certain industries that do this better than others, or are more readily to adapt licensing than others?
What industries do you avoid?
Yeah.
The number one, the toy industry has been licensing ideas forever, so they're very used to it. That's why when I showed Ohio Art, the Michael Jordan, I had a contract 3 days later. They just got it, right? Because they were doing it. So that industry has been doing it for 60, 70 years. They get it. The kitchen industry is very popular right now. There's a kitchen trade show. I'll be out the next month or so, and that's a huge show in Chicago. There'll be 2,100 kitchen companies. They license a lot of ideas. The pet industry, love licensing. In fact, what was interesting, I was at the toy fair in New York just last week, and I got all these companies to say, hey, do you work with inventors? And I got them on film saying, we love inventors. I don't know if all industries do yet, but more and more and more are doing it. And the reason why, it's really simple. It's called open innovation. Companies, if they open their doors for ideas, I've got 10 guys in the room coming up with ideas, and they're not really happy. The guys in the back of the room aren't happy because they're creating ideas because they love it. They do it for recognition, but all they're getting is a paycheck. So they're not doing their best work. I know it. And they want to go home at 5 o'clock. So if you open the doors, and I've got thousands of people sending me ideas, the chances of me finding better ideas has increased again. I don't have to pay for it until I take it, to no cost. So that open innovation business model, I think, is sweeping a lot of industries. Some of the tough industries, the license would be probably package industry because you need to have a knowledge on equipment and machinery, although you still can. You still can. The automobile industry is difficult, although we had a student that did license an idea to one of the top 3 recently. So there's just certain industries that are a little bit tougher just because it's requires machinery and time. Novelty gift, they love it. Sporting, fitness, do it yourself, all those things. Yeah, companies love it. But you have to be a professional. Mm-hmm. Right, that's the trick too. Understand the language a little bit. Be reasonable, right? And so you have to have the right temperament. Reach out to companies. Be a professional. That's why I think if you follow my advice, you read some of the books, stuff, you'll be a pro pretty fast. And that way they'll want to work with you again. If you're a pain to them, they'll get rid of you so fast. It's not worth it. If you're a trouble to them, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to kind of go through some of the steps here, you come up with a great idea, right? You get all excited about it. Now, you did mention a provisional patent. You don't need to file a full patent, though, right?
Well, the first thing is, we call it number 1, study the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Find a category that you really love. You know, if it's sporting goods, whatever. Go down to the stores, look at all the sporting goods products there. Look at them all. They're all there. Or go online. You can look at everything. You can study a micro category within hours. You can be an expert of all the products in one little area. Look at them all. Number 2, create for the marketplace. come up with variations, make those improvements. Really simple. Number 3, file a provisional patent application. It's called a PPA. Go to the USPTO.gov, that's the United States Patent and Trademark Office.gov. Read as much as you can about it. Really simple. You can file it yourself for $65. But read about it and do it correctly. It's not difficult to do. You could hire an attorney, but it's going to cost you a couple $1,000s at least. But you can do it yourself. Number 4, make your list of companies that's a good fit. That's what's so important. Don't try to show a company an idea they aren't currently in that space. Find a company where they can just take it, put it right into their product line. Really easy. Then contact those companies. Call them directly. Say, hey, I'm a product developer. I'd like to start submitting ideas to your company. Can you help me? What's your process? Go to LinkedIn, type in the company, get the person's name, then call the company. Really simple to get in now. So simple to get in. And then put together a 1-page sell sheet. Just a 1-pager. Here's my product. Don't even build a prototype. Have a 3D computer-generated artist make your sketch look magical like you can buy it. Have the benefit of it, a couple features, your contact information, send it through the email, or better yet, build a prototype. I don't care if it's ugly, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Make a 1-minute video. Show a problem. You're struggling. Show a solution. Hey, look what just happened. I'm happy. 1 minute. Produce that little video on your iPhone. Great selling tool. So those are really the tools. And then send them to those companies and keep on following up. And so those steps, those are the 10 steps that I teach. I think we're step number 8, basically. And then once you get a licensing agreement, then I could talk forever about that. You're going to need some help. You'll need help with that. But everything else you can do. Yeah, everything else you can do. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Not that bad. And that you definitely do cover that in your book a little bit more and into more detail. And definitely your YouTube videos really cover a lot of this stuff in detail. But it's not that difficult, really. It's not. You just have to, like you said, play the numbers game on it.
I tell everybody, look, if you want to do this, come up with a terrible idea that you hate. Okay, do this. And do it. Call the company, submit the idea, just go through the whole process one time. Don't do it the product that you love. Get a little practice. And once you realize, see, what's going to really surprise you is that when you reach out to that company and they say to you, hey, let's see your idea. That's when it all changes for you in your mind. You go like, holy smokes, I can do this? And you're thinking...
They're actually talking to me?
That's what you're thinking. And you're thinking, well, I'm not really qualified. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So you don't overthink it. If you overthink it, you'll never do anything.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just jump off the cliff.
Yes.
Nice. So what kind of money can you make off something like this? Because I'm sure that's something that's always brought up.
Always.
Is it worth your time to be able to go through, not really the hassle, but these steps and your time to do this?
Well, see, now you're bringing it down to money, which is perfectly fine. I'll give you an example, and there's a full range. Okay, my rotating label, which I have over here. It's just a simple. Here it is. Here, you can see it. You spin it.
Yeah, nice.
This has produced income for me for 20 years, in the millions. 20 years. Ugh. You shouldn't do anything for 20 years, but you've got ideas like this. Have you seen the Zip It? It's a long plastic piece of material with little barbs. If your sink gets plugged.
Yes.
Okay. That gentleman makes probably a lot of money. A lot. Okay, because they sell millions of them, millions and millions. I mean, every year they sell multiple millions for $2.39. He's very rich because of it. Okay, mm-hmm. And then you've got everybody in between. You got people that might do 50,000. You might have someone who does 100,000, $250,000. It's all over the board. You might even have a product that hits the shelf and no one buys it. So you got to have some reality here a little bit, right? So, I've seen a lot of projects that are just wonderful, and They license, a guy licenses to a company, it goes on the shelf, but the customers are fickle. They don't want it. That's happened to me too. So
just need to move past it. Yeah.
Well, it breaks your heart, especially when you're working so hard and they finally launch it and you realize no one wants it. You're like, oh, that just kills you. All right. But yeah, it's all over the board.
But that's important for you to say, for people to hear you say that, because they look to you as successful, and even you have had hits, you've had misses, and you're still moving on. You're still smiling, and you're still.
I've had multiple ideas. If you're in the novelty gift industry, which I was in for years, because it's a fashion industry, it's a seasonal industry. Every time you license one for Christmas, for Valentine's, you're not going to make a lot of money, maybe $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. But that to me was more like a job. And those companies are not going to ship anymore, but just for the season. I've had a lot of ideas. Like I said, they get to the market and it doesn't do well. That's always hard to take. And then you have ideas like the Michael Jordan wall bowl for 10 years. You got to be kidding me. The last check was for 55 cents. I didn't cash it. I couldn't believe it. For 10 years? That was a fluke. And then, so it's all over the board. I think I never got into it because of the money. I knew the money would follow if I had a hit. But I think you do it because you really like it. And I think you do it because you're passionate about it. I think you do it for all the right reasons. If you're chasing money, there's a lot of other things I could have done, I think, and been more successful at. Right? Looking back. But I wouldn't have had as much fun.
Okay, you wouldn't have been able to use that creative side of you.
No.
Yeah.
No. So I think it's worked out fine. I just think there's a balance at anything that you do. But I'm all about increasing that chances of success. That's the trick to me. If you come up with one or two ideas, okay, all right. But if you come up with hundreds, your chances are going to be far greater. If you start one business, you're going to spend a lot of time and years at it. But if I can license, I can submit all these ideas. So I'm like starting all these little businesses and see which one's going to hit. So I guess it all comes back to I really wanted to do this for forever, and so I wanted to find a way that worked for me, and that's why I find a different way of doing it. Yeah.
But it's really, really nice to hear somebody really talk about this way versus everything else out there, because I mean, like we were talking about before, entrepreneurs, it's the cool thing, it's the in thing, but they never tell you.
Oh,
they don't tell you the not really necessarily dark side, but just the work side of the house. So it's really, really great to hear you talk about that.
Oh, I could go on with the dark sides forever, but I don't think people really want to hear that. But you end up learning from those experiences, and hopefully you can laugh from them too. Some of the worst experiences were the best, but not at the time.
You can look. That's a story for a later day. Yeah. So one final question for you here. What words of wisdom might you tell somebody who is struggling to find success in life, find a path in life, and it hasn't come to them just yet?
Why not find? I'm a big believer in that you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in finding something that someone else is doing and just kind of learning from them a little bit. I'm also a big believer in finding like-minded individuals and getting in those type of group situations and just talking. I think that sometimes you don't know where one thing will lead, right? If you're looking for short-term, I say that's a bad. If you're looking for short-term results in anything you do, I think you're going to end up being unhappy. Look for the long term, meaning if you like someone that's doing something that's pretty cool and successful, reach out to that person and build relationships. And you'll find that if you look long term and open those doors, you're never quite sure where they lead. And that's what's really kind of fun about it. But things seem to happen if you have an open mind and you make relationships with people that are successful, that are loving life. Find those people too, and it will rub off.
Yeah,
You know?
I think that's huge. The mentorship, the community aspect, and I think for young people, how do young people find that? How do they find that kind of a community if they're a high school student?
I think it's easy. If I really like when someone's young reaches out to me. I love that because I see myself. I think you're going to find a lot of people that I wouldn't say at the end of their careers, but I think they've been very satisfied with their careers, willing to give back. I think that's the greatest gift you can give anybody is the giving back. So you can go, if you have to go to events or find that person with gray hair like myself that looks at things a little differently, right? And it's not about each success anymore, right? It's not about that anymore. It's about kind of enjoying it and helping others with it. That's great joy. Being a teacher is the greatest joy in the world. I mean, so I think people that have experienced it and still love it would be willing to share, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
I think you just have to reach out and ask.
Yeah, show that initiative.
And flattery goes a long way too.
Oh, I really love you over everyone else. It's great. And I want to learn it from you. It's perfect. Well, Stephen, thanks for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. Now, how can people reach out to you? How can people discover more about licensing?
Yeah, it's really simple. I would say watch our YouTube show. It's called Invent Right, RIGHT, Invent Right TV. I think there's a lot of information there. They're very short. We try to keep it entertaining. I don't know if we achieve that. That would be the first thing I would do. And if you want more, you can also find me on Inc.com. I'm a columnist there, writing about licensing lifestyle, and I also write for Entrepreneur. And I do a lot of speaking around the country. So just connect. Everything's on our website. Go to our website, inventright.com. You'll see a lot of free stuff. And just find stuff that you want. And listen, the YouTube videos can be very addicting. I hear people, they watch one and they end up watching more and more and more. I think that's funny. We love doing them. So keep on watching them. Yeah.
Nice. And we'll provide all the listeners out there. We're going to provide the links to your website and to the YouTube video and to your books and everything like that in the description there too. So anybody's interested, definitely reach out. I think licensing is definitely a very unique and interesting way to go. And it's something that you really should seriously consider when you're looking for, entrepreneurship versus licensing versus all that stuff.
A couple of the professors that reached out to me says there's a lot of people that should never go into business. Licensing is perfect for you.
Nice. Well, again, thank you, Stephen. I do appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much, James.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for watching this, and please subscribe.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, any comments, please comment down below. And if you have any careers that you're interested in us checking out and interviewing, definitely comment on that too. We'll track somebody down, interrogate him, interview him, and figure out what makes them tick and how to be successful. So thanks again, guys. Bye.